back to For the Love of Men podcast. My name's Courtney Shand, and I'm hosting with my dear friend Brianna Mosier.
Hello.
The intention of this show is to bring together men and women to create healthy, polarized relationship dynamics by learning how to honor each other's natural masculine and feminine energetic core. I am so excited for today's topic, the conversation that we're both having, just not with each other. Before we dive in, I want to introduce you to myself and my friend Bri, and then we will get going.
Yes, I'm Bri. My work in the world is helping really high-achieving, driven, independent women identifying types, help them embrace their feminine energy, heal from past trauma and emotional wounding, and learn how to have really healthy, thriving relationships, not only with themselves, their family, their friends, but also particularly with men and in dating and relationships, so they stay in their power and open their heart to love. Your work
So powerful.
Thank you.
Yes. I am working with men to really learn how to create the polarity that can complement that depth of emotional intimacy. Those two pieces, when a man embodies his empowered masculine energy, attracts the type of woman that you are looking to create this long-term relationship with. So I love helping men understand both of those concepts and how to really move that into his dating life with some clarity and confidence and feeling calm and relaxed.
So good.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We are both doing similar work for men and women. We just are with different.
Yeah.
Goes very well with our show today.
Which is so funny because what kind of prompted this show is having transitioned from working with women to mostly working with men at this point. I'm hearing very similar conversations happening in the male camp. And I was sharing with Bri, this is what men are reflecting back. This is like what's happening in my comments section of my content, and it's like having similar conversations just in two different camps. We need to have it together. We're just not having the conversation together. So we want to bridge that gap today and really share a little bit about what each side is saying so that we can start creating more collaboration and more language to move forward together, move towards each other in the way that we are actually craving. That's what I'm hearing on both sides.
Yeah, it's so interesting when Courtney was sharing what men are saying in her work and in her comment section, because that's most of your target audience on your social media, that it is a similar, if not the same thing in a different flavor, that women are saying, "You good?" She spilled a little bit of tea. You're supposed to do that with me later when good things happen. You spill it, but did you get it on you?
All over my white dress.
Aww. It looks good. I like it.
The tea sachet just
The tea
flipped. Okay.
She couldn't hold it back. She had too much tea to spill in the episode. It manifested as physical.
Man, okay, go ahead.
What I was saying was, what you're hearing, what Courtney's hearing from men in her comment section, the same thing is happening for women, and we're kind of asking the same things. So it really fascinated with me. When you first told me, I was like, what? This is the perception that men are having of women. Because women are having the exact same perception of men. Yeah. What's happening in this in-between?
How are we missing each other? The conversations sound almost identical, just different language. And that is the miss. And you know, if you've listened to any of our episodes, we are all about translating these conversations so that we're able to meet each other in both a really empowered and dignified way and really get to the heart of what we're actually both wanting, which is to connect with each other. I know obviously there's people who are not wanting to connect with men or women, and that's fine. That's not who we're addressing here. We want to talk to people who actually want to create something healthy and find themselves in these kind of like echo chambers of men are the worst, or women need to get their act together, or almost like this prove it to me that you're worth it energy. It's a wounded conversation, and we're wanting to really elevate it so that we can move the conversation forward instead of staying stuck in these cycles.
Yeah, it really is a blame game right now from both sides, right? Women are blaming men, you need to do the work. And men are blaming women, is what I'm understanding from you. You need to do the work. What that really comes down to is a protection mechanism.
Yeah.
When we're blaming the other party and never looking at, is there a part of me that is not open to intimacy? Is there a part of me that is not wanting to self-reflect on how I could be creating a space that might be attracting and allowing the opposite of what I'm actually wanting in partnership, right? Is there a part of me that's avoiding vulnerability or avoiding connecting with my own feminine energy? We skirt away from self-responsibility and blame the other party because it's easier. It requires less of us. We don't have to look at any of our shame-based parts. And shame is the hardest emotion as a human to feel. It is horrible. And it's, even when I look at it now, it still doesn't feel good. You just get a better skill set at being with it. But because a lot of us aren't given a skill set on how to be with shame, what we do is just go, hurts too much. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to look at that part. It hurts to feel that way. It's uncomfortable. I'm going to numb out. I'm going to avoid. I'm going to blame. Right. And this conversation, we hope, makes you turn inward and go, the question of the episode. How can I be the type of partner that I want to attract?
How can I be the compatible counterpart
to
what I am looking to attract? Because that is the most empowering way to move through these conversations, because someone who is empowered enough to ask that question, either the masculine or the feminine, is going to be naturally more likely to look at the ways that they could create more safety for their opposite partner. And if you're looking for practical ways to do that, we have several masterclasses I would recommend. We have one for men, one for women, of what this actually means, with examples and practical, like, step-by-step ways to do that. Yeah.
Would you like to share what's happening on the men's side of things? Because I truly believe this is going to blow women's minds, because they're all in an echo chamber. They are all in this echo chamber, especially if you're playing more in a wounded paradigm with your girlfriends. This might be very surprising.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are men sharing about their experience with dating and what they're asking of women?
Yeah. I'm hearing a lot of themes of women either blaming a lot on them, especially in regards to their emotional experience, them not feeling like they can, the men perceiving that the women are unable to, like, ground themselves. They don't struggle with the fact that you have emotions. It's that it is, like, full force at them, and not willing to, like, take responsibility or be accountable for the repair part of it, which is something that has been really, like, interesting to see, that these men who can articulate this and say, like, when I share something with you and it comes back at me, that makes it unsafe for me to want to share more, first of all. I'm hearing a lot of ungroundedness in women, a lot of women not taking accountability or responsibility for the relationship as well. Men feeling like they're having to do a lot of work to both ground you and keep the relationship going forward. I hear a lot of, like, feeling unable to make her happy or to keep her happy, and a lot of fear of the relationship dissolving if I am not doing enough work. It feels like a lot of hoop jumping is the reflection that I'm hearing the most of, is all these hoops that I'm having to jump through, like really questioning, is there a woman out there who is able to do the opposite side that would make this really worth it? It's not that they question that. It's like, am I the only one doing it? Which was really surprising to hear.
Can you say that again?
Like, it feels like a lot of hoops when the person on the other side isn't also putting in the amount of effort, the reflection, the, like, self-reflection and growth. Almost like they are kind of just swirling in their emotions and not able to, like, move in a direction together.
I see. So I understand, because when I speak with women who are working with me to do the inner work, their wounding is so layered, and that's where the hoops come from.
Yes.
She's saying, prove to me that you're a safe, good man and that you can love me well. And what I'm hearing you say is, he's going, this is a lot of hoops. Doesn't feel like you're doing a lot of hoops over there. You're just wanting me to earn it. And she's constantly, like, withholding, guarding, bracing.
Yes.
Unable to open and be radiant and warm and playful, because she's still seeking this sense of, like, is this a good, safe, healthy man? Her wounding. So both of you are just...
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I just saw, and this is again kind of a theme, but to sum it up, like, the idea that, just slipped my mind.
I know, it's a dense conversation. There's a lot to say.
It really is. It was around, okay, it'll come back.
It will come back.
They always do. They always come back.
Well, you were sharing about what's happening on men's side. So there's a lot of, like, I'm jumping through all these hoops. and she's not doing the work as well on hers.
Yeah. And that a lot of good, this is what they were saying, a lot of good, real, honest men who are invested and want to have a long-term relationship are getting overlooked because of the projected wounds of either you're not safe enough, you're not masculine enough, you haven't done enough work. A lot of men who would have really good, honest intentions are getting what they feel is mistreated or overlooked by these women who are kind of like having them jump through all these hoops. And then that is creating this like wounding over their heart where they're having to show up far more guarded and reserved. And it is a catch-22 because it feels really vulnerable then to want to lean forward and create like the connection and move the connection forward if it feels like I'm having to like climb over this wall and it may not turn into anything. I still feel unseen or overlooked, which is really interesting to be observing.
Both people are kind of bracing and guarded.
Yeah.
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 Are there any other things happening in the men's space that you're noticing, conversations or nuances that you feel like would be helpful for women to know?
Yeah. I think, and this is a whole other episode, we will do a whole other episode, but there's this comparison of who's done the most work that I see showing up and that I'm hearing showing up, in that you may have a ton of language and you've done a lot of personal development work and therapy and you've got a lot of the speech down pat, but the practicality of what you're doing isn't in line. For example, like I just have boundaries when it's really me like controlling and trying to like contain and contort you instead of like that's just off limits to me because this is what preserves my peace. Or even within that, like this is what preserves my peace and I don't want any kind of disruption, which is also not actually a boundary because you're going to be bumping into other people's humanness and human parts when you're opting for a relationship. And you keeping your peace for the sake of boundaries is actually blocking connection with another human heart.
It's protecting what you feel inherently vulnerable about and are unwilling to meet yourself in that vulnerability.
Exactly.
But you're calling it protecting your peace.
Exactly.
Like,
or boundaries. Yeah.
Right. And for women, like that is difficult work. I don't think Courtney or I would deny that at all. It's really hard to get in touch with those vulnerable parts, but you doing that on your own is what's going to help you feel sturdy to bring it to the table in a relationship. I think it's a really tall order to ask women to unpack their vulnerabilities like that for the first time in relationship because you're not going to feel like you can hold yourself. So it is important for women to do that work, to deeply meet themselves. And that's the work of the feminine, is to be deeply in your body and in your emotion and be able to sit with that at full capacity and then say to your partner, this is what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Can I share this with you?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. 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 I've got more, but those are the first layers of what's coming up.
I love it.
Yeah. One more, actually, sorry.
Go for it.
The other piece, because I'm afraid I'll forget it, is that there is a real sense of miss when it comes to being approached. And I love, this is so Bree's zone of genius, if you need help with being approachable. It is so, the reason that we say before you start dating, you have to work on your relationship to the masculine at large is because the more guarded and closed you are, the less men are wanting to come towards you, not because they're not masculine enough, but they can see this isn't going to be fruitful for either of us. And so they just kind of swerve because they have their own stuff to work on with rejection. But what has been so tender and heartwarming to read is the shares around the times that they put themselves forward and that women either like almost like scoffed at them or like laughed at them or were really unkind. And I can see from the feminine side, it's a skill set that when you're uncomfortable, you don't know how to handle it, or you have your own wounded stories happening that are keeping you like reacting. But I'm hearing a lot of stories of that where they're like, I've put myself out there multiple times, and it is wearing away at the desire to continue to do that when it's met in that way.
I can already hear women's voices in my head.
Perfect. This is the conversation we need to be having.
This is the conversation. So, in fact, I just got one of these comments because I do a lot of content on approachability for women, on how to give green lights to men, to let them know that it's safe to approach me. If you approach me, I would like that. I would invite it. The first piece of that is energetically healing their connection and emotionally healing their connection to the masculine. Deeper work, another episode. But then there are very general physical cues. I have a whole masterclass on it, by the way, if you are wanting to dive into this, on approachability and feminine magnetism. It's like 2 hours long. It's great. And when I create content about this, there is always somewhere in the algorithm, women will trickle in like, why are we pretending like men can't handle rejection and we're enabling them not having to face this rejection? And we talk about this often. Sometimes it's difficult to hear because people come in from their place of understanding and through their filter of wounding. That's how they're experiencing it. But we always advocate for the healthy third way forward, where we can have real human compassion for the real human parts that don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be rejected. I've done a lot of work. I don't want to be rejected.
Doesn't feel great still.
I don't
Can
feel
I handle
ashamed
it?
saying
Yes,
that.
but
Exactly. You can handle it, but like to say that, they should just be able to handle everything. I don't know that is fair. The biggest concern with approachability from women is the lack of safety. That is number one. Too much. So unwanted attention, unwanted sexualization or objectification, really uncomfortable. You have to understand this is visceral for women, a feeling of, I might not be safe. I don't know what you want from me. I don't know if you're going to be a kind, safe person, if you're going to try to take it. Are you going to try to manipulate me? When you sense guardedness from women, I can almost promise you that it's coming from that place that she has. Number one, it's real. And with the realness, she can still find ways to trust herself and her discernment in her body to be able to stay open to being approached. Very nuanced, deep conversation that's not to be taken lightly. But there is some work for women there. But a lot of women are saying, we need you to be safer.
Yeah.
And I need you to come forward with a safe approach. There are lots of ways men approach that can make women feel very unsafe, and that might be part of why you're getting that response. Even if you're not doing it, if she's had that experience with other men, she is going to be bracing for it.
Yeah.
Approachability is a really intense one.
Yeah, which is funny because I've done several pieces of content around rejection. I have a whole masterclass on that too, of like, actually, what does that mean to start owning that and being with those pieces so that they're not holding you back, but also to be clear and clean in your approachability. Like I've got several videos on my YouTube of the actionable things of like, what are some green flags, A, within yourself, and B, some signs that she is like open to that versus this is just not going the direction that you're wanting to go, because there is so much story on both sides. The story of I'm going to be rejected, I shouldn't even try, and he's going to do something that I will feel out of control of and don't want. If we could have those conversations, because the feedback that I get on those type of videos is overwhelmingly like surprise, first of all, and also men are wanting to understand what practically you would prefer or need. And I think the way that women usually explain it is from a more blaming or condescending tone, and that's really hard to hear. It's one thing to get feedback and to really reflect on it. That takes a lot of humility and empowerment to begin with. But when it's coming from a wound, it's going to be even harder to be with, because you're having to filter through, is this true? I don't think that's my intention. I realize it's hurting, but like, is this actually true and actionable that I need to make an adjustment with?
This conversation is like so nuanced. I'm having to hold myself back.
We're going to have to do multiple layers of this, because as we were even mapping this out, we're like, this is
Too deep.
It requires nuance, and I think that's where we both really can get in the weeds, but also
I don't know anything about that.
we can't solve every problem for every person in every situation in one 30 or 40 minute episode. So it is kind of high level at that.
And it is.
It just is.
I'm sure we'll do many segments of this same topic to continue to keep a pulse on what are these conversations happening in the men's space and the women's space. Should we talk a little bit about what's going on in the women's space?
Yeah.
So women are also, it's so interesting to me that this is new to men, because I feel like this is the age-old conversation that women have been having. We want
with each other.
With each other only. Exactly.
Only with each other.
Only with each other, saying we need you to do the work, which is exactly what men are saying.
If only men would do the work.
If only men would do the work.
If only women would do the work.
If only men would go to therapy, if they would get in touch with their emotions, and they could meet me more deeply. That's a big one. And heal his trauma, because it's showing up in inhibiting the connection in our relationship or limiting the depth of it, right? If only men would learn how to be safe men for women. If only men would learn how the patriarchal construct has made women feel deeply unsafe and could have compassion for that, then we would be able to open, because we would feel seen. We would feel understood. We would feel like, oh, you're actually supporting and uplifting me. You're not trying to take from me again. If men could understand that ancestral wounding, if men could understand the relationship women have to safety and how ancestral it is, once again, to protect. You know, the one thing women want so deeply, at least for my clientele, is that safe, healthy, loving connection and relationship. And yet, women's number one fear, I need a better word.
For what?
Men also, they want love from men so deeply. Men also feel like a very big threat to their safety and their well-being. And it's kind of this question of like, am I going to get a good safe man, or am I going to get a man that is going to manipulate me or bully me or take advantage of me or do things that I'm not consenting to, right? These are real fears coming up for women. And then they're saying, I just want men to do the work, to go to therapy, to heal these things so they can meet me more deeply.
What I'm hearing is I really want for you to be able to hear me.
And see me.
And see me.
See me as a woman.
Yeah, in my language is, I think, maybe the flavor. And I think that's where learning to translate, because we both do a lot of translating work, learning to translate of like, oh, I'm hearing this, and this is what is being received by the other person instead of what you're actually wanting to communicate. And I have found, just even in my own relationships, the more that there's a common language, it creates more harmony naturally. And I think that's where like couples therapy or doing a course together, listening to this podcast together, doing a masterclass together, so that you at least have some common language, feels like an us versus the problem orientation, instead of I'm going to keep talking and you're going to keep talking and I'll get louder and you'll get louder, and we're not actually like ever hearing each other, or we're hearing each other, but we're not able to take action in a way that the other person would register that the feedback has been received. I could receive the feedback and act in a way that makes sense to me, but it doesn't land to you like I have heard deeply what you're saying, and now I'm responding in that way.
It is a translation game, isn't it?
Yeah. But I love that, and I think if you just, in having the conversations that I've been having with men, there are so many men who are craving emotional depth and want to provide this safety. And what's interesting is there is almost this paradox, this kind of dichotomy of like, you either get the emotional safety or you get the sexual chemistry. And learning to integrate the two is really what I'm helping a lot of men do, is like understand how these two fit together, because they do. But there is a moment of the relationship depolarizing is part of intimacy and connection. Like on some level, that is coming together. We want to come together human to human, and I can see your heart. I can feel you. I have those feelings sometimes too, and I can be with the really tender thing that you're sharing. Women want that experience. Men want that experience. we're missing each other because we're forgetting that this is a human in front of me. I'm still seeing you through the lens of all the other people who looked like you, who injured me, and I have to take some responsibility for not dismissing the fact that those things happened, but what do I need in order to clear that out enough that I'm able to show up with my full humanity and sit across from your full humanity?
First part you said about I'm seeing you through the lens of all the people that have injured me. That's exactly what's happening on both sides. And then we're pointing at each other and saying, so you need to change and do the work so that I'm not at risk for that pain again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's actually such a common comment that I get of like, I know how this is going to play out. And I heard it from women too of like, it's just a matter of time. He'll cheat. It's just a matter of time. They change. It's just a matter of time. This is too good to last.
He'll stop trying. He'll stop dating you.
Yeah.
He'll stop pursuing.
Yeah.
He'll want someone younger. I could go on for days.
Yep.
And Courtney and I look at this and go, these are filters of wounding of your very real, true experiences that are valid. But it's a choice whether or not we take that pain and alchemize it and get the wisdom and discernment and self-trust, or we let the pain filter our experience of everyone we meet going forward, embrace and protect.
That's it. That is it. The self-responsibility isn't act like you have never been hurt before. It is to distill the wisdom of what you learned, what boundaries we need to put in place, what support we need to actually alchemize this and really get into the heart of it so that we can connect again. I just truly believe, even in hearing the comments, even from comments who clearly don't agree necessarily with what I'm sharing or the idea that I'm suggesting, there is a way forward that I think a lot of people are wanting to move into. They just haven't either had the permission or they don't know how. The skill set may not be there, and the safety, the very real safety based on their experience, reduces their confidence that that is possible, which is really sad. When we close our heart to the hope of what's possible or the hope of what we want, like that's a really beautiful, tender, pure thing that makes us human. And I see on both sides. Like I want this thing that's deep and connected and loving.
And I'm terrified of it.
And it's terrifying because of the experiences that I've had.
I love that point. And I want to circle back quickly to the emotional intimacy piece, because I think there's one more nuance here. Women are wanting this emotional intimacy, and then from my understanding, it seems like men are going, okay, but when I give you the emotional intimacy, you see me as lesser than. You see me as weak. You're not attracted to me anymore. And I do think there is a real call for women to learn how to see men in their humanity and see it as connection, like you were saying. Yeah. Part of the reason, to just let you in on the women's conversation, part of the reason this gets difficult is because emotional labor, as it's now called, the ability to hold space and sort through things and get to the root of it and connect, is a gift of the feminine. But because it's been exploited and women have felt drained, like all the emotional labor of the men in their life, it falls on them. Men come to women to connect and get that emotional bucket full. And it can feel a little overwhelming or exhausting. A lot of women have felt taken advantage of and used. Like they're willing, so common experience is like she's willing to be in the trauma with him and hold the space and go there with him. And she feels like she's pulling him along to do the emotional work. At some point, any woman is going to start to feel resentful, burnt out. And if we stay too long in the place of my woman is helping me heal and fix these things, then you will depolarize. So there's a skill set for men as well to learn how to open and hold yourself and not put the weight on her to hold you all the time. It's a collaboration, and both of you having attunement around, am I starting to depolarize a lot more? Do I need him to hold himself more? What would that look like? And for him to have a pulse on that as well. Am I putting all of the weight of healing on my woman? Is this the only place that I get my emotional intimacy bucket filled? Is this the only place I know to go with all of the trauma I want to unpack from my family unit, but I'm putting it on her because you should be the one to hold me through this? And she's like, I don't want to be your therapist. then I feel like I'm always in space holding. I feel like I'm in my masculine. I'm tired. I want you to hold space for me too. That is the burnout that women are going through. But she does want your emotional intimacy. She just wants it with you holding yourself as well. And then in moments, you can lean back and let her hold it with you, as long as you know how to re-stabilize and go, I've got me. Now you get to have the dance. But if you're not stabilizing and it's on her, that is gonna lead to definitely some dysfunction in the dynamic, resentment for sure.
Yeah. And I would liken it to, just based on the comments and the conversations that I'm hearing, I would liken it to her never contributing financially.
Interesting.
It isn't that it's a gift to provide for your partner. And if it's all that you're doing and being dependent on for that, without her ever like appreciating, or, and everybody's got their own thing, so this is again nuanced, but without her appreciating it, without her being inspired to contribute in her unique ways, like, what is this opening up for you to do? She's just coming to you for like financial dependency. There's going to be a part of you that's like, this doesn't feel balanced as two adults. Not that it needs to go into the 50-50 conversation, but like there's an adult level to it. And I think that's where you're talking about, is that part of emotional maturity, and especially for the masculine, is learning how to be with your own emotions and really embody that masculine energy that feels solid and can hold emotions. Part of what I do is expanding capacity to hold emotions in general, because that's going to help you stay more regulated with your own, and when she brings any to you, to stay regulated too. But I think the skill that's really needed is to understand, for the masculine, to understand how to purposely repolarize, so that you're creating intimacy, and then you're purposely repolarizing so that she's not feeling like she's being invited to step into the masculine pole. And for the feminine to learn how to see intimacy as connection, and not respond with a sense of either fear of depolarization of the relationship, which usually shows up on her face as like, it's this like disgust energy of like, ooh, I don't want that kind of connection. And men are interpreting that as, you don't want my humanness, and yet you're asking for it. And so it can be really confusing. And I think both sides, there is some like work to understand what's actually being asked, and to show up in holding yourself more. For her to hold someone in their humanity does require a good amount of masculine energy, and her own masculine energy. So it will depolarize for a little bit, but that's where purposely recreating that polarity can be really beautiful.
Yeah, I would agree. I think part of the work of the feminine too is to unpack their ideas of masculinity. Because, so there's no way to say this without just saying it. We're all indoctrinated in this patriarchal system that says men shouldn't have emotions, when men are very much human and do have emotions. And some women are also internalizing that narrative and subconsciously believing that there's a limit to how much emotion a man should experience, which will create an experience where he comes forward to share, and she is having that, ooh, that's not manly, that's not masculine, you're not stable, I can't lean on you, I can't depend on you, I'm the emotion, you're supposed to be the stability. That's going to cause disconnect. And so for women, there is some work in unpacking this very disempowered idea of masculinity that you've been fed, that probably leans a little more on that toxic masculinity side. Yes, there's going to be a different expression of emotion through men and women, is what we have found, right? Through masculine and feminine energy. The expression of that's going to look differently. The feminine probably will be a little bit more like fluid and feeling a lot more depth, and that's beautiful. But men have feminine energy as well. And unless we create space for that, and you as a woman create safety and stability within yourself to receive that, you're going to push away the very thing you're asking men to do for you, which is open up.
Come on.
That's all I got.
So good. So good.
No, it's just, we need to unpack that, right? Because if you're asking for emotional intimacy, then you have to be able to hold it when a man comes forward, and not see him as lesser than, and see him as actually, I love, the sword I will die on is, nothing is harder than feeling your feelings. That's why people numb out. That's why they drink. That's why they smoke, because it's hard to feel stuff. So if your man's coming forward with an emotion and he's going, I've got me, this is what I'm experiencing, what could be stronger and more masculine?
Agreed.
He's showing so much strength in his own vulnerability to then open to you. Oof. What's stronger than that? What do you mean? And him going there with himself means he can meet you there in your emotion. This is why you need our sweatshirt. We celebrate emotionally intelligent men. Period. We just had some apparel drop, by the way. You can find it in the show notes. Because it's so important. You need that depth. And I think there's a responsibility on women to unpack. How do you see your man when he drops his shield and he's able to show you his heart? And can you still see him as the warrior that he is, right? Without getting too, cheesy with semantics.
I mean, it is one of the most, like, I'm literally getting moved. Like, it is one of the most beautiful experiences.
Yeah.
In the same way that when you truly, as the feminine, are willing to be seen and vulnerable and lead with your vulnerability, like there is a feminine leadership quality that you do get to go first in some ways too. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of times where women are asking for him to like lead and have this huge space created for her, and then he does that, and then you aren't showing up too. Your job is to drop in and lead with your vulnerability. That is what's going to allow him to build the next step for this connection to keep deepening, and they want it. And there's only so much that can be done if we as the feminine aren't willing to drop in, and if we can't be with his raw self too, because men have way more emotions than just anger. And if the only place that they feel safe having their emotional expression and now no longer feel safe, it's going to feel really scary and risky to do that again. This is where for the masculine, either having some space that is purposely for that, that's what I do, or having a group of men around you where you can meet these emotions in a way that leaves you feeling really dignified and brave and strong and more powerful and in your power when you're seen in that way. That's the correction that gets to happen so that you can start approaching women in a way that allows for her to recognize the connection point too.
Well said. I think when you were sharing about how men are asking for women to do the work to ground themselves, right? That is, I mean, working with women, I tend to agree that there's a lot of grounding and stability needed because a lot of women are overwhelmed by the depth with which they feel.
Yeah.
Myself included. Took me a long time to learn how to be with how much I felt myself, other people, the world. Like, whoa, there's a lot of information happening all the time. And so if women don't know how to ground, we have a whole episode coming on this. You already know where I'm going. Women tend to perceive that because they feel more and that they can say what they're feeling, that they are superior in emotional intelligence. And that is just one facet of emotional intelligence, being able to say, I feel this way. There's a lot more to it. There is the grounded part. There's being able to get to the root of why. There's being able to stay steady in the face of feedback, in the face of what you're perceiving as criticism, and you feel triggered about rejection. How do you ground yourself in that moment without spiraling off and blaming? It's a skill set to be with all these emotions on your own, and then to be with them in partnership, especially in moments when you want to close down or you feel threatened or triggered. That's part of the emotional intelligence. So I hear you, when I hear that men are having this experience of women sharing their emotions and then kind of spiraling out of control and blaming him or shutting down. I mean, I used to be that girl.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it in a shameful way. I get
no
it.
Shame. Yeah.
Exactly. You just don't have the awareness at the time. That's how we got into this work. How I got into this work was, I don't know what to do with all these emotions. All I know is that it's not working and I need to figure this out. I mean, we're pretty forthcoming about that on the show. There's no hierarchy here. We went through the trenches. So I do think it's a skill set women need, is to learn how to hold themselves, how to communicate in healthy ways, how to hold space for his emotions and still see him as that warrior. There's a big ask here as well.
Yeah. So good. We're going to have to do another episode because we could keep going and it'll just keep getting different branches of this. But yeah, if I were going to summarize this, to think of the things that everyone is asking for, everyone that's wanting more depth, more connection, to feel loved and accepted, to be seen and heard, to have their historical perspective and what's shaped them into who and how they are seen and honored and just acknowledged, to feel like more of you can be welcomed and still feel attracted to and attractive. Those are things that both sides are saying the exact same thing. And this is where, when I was talking to Brie, like, this is an intimacy issue. We are both wanting to be seen as fully human. And when we forget, and we talk about polarity all the time, but when we forget that, like, that is the root of what's going to create this, like, tension for you, is to be able to connect and feel safe. Yeah. We talk so much about, like, your nervous system, your heart, your body, all those things on both sides are wanting to feel safe, to let your guard down, to really be seen and be fully human. And if we're not willing to go there ourselves, it is, I think, that's the first step. You can't invite someone else to join you in somewhere that you're not willing to go yourself, and vice versa. You can't depend on someone else to take you somewhere that you're not willing to venture into and explore on your own too, whatever that needs to look like. This is where support can be really helpful, because it is hard to take yourself somewhere that you've not been yet. And for me, at least, having someone that can hold that space and, again, see you in dignity or softness or your power, and really give you that corrective experience and that nervous system, like, deactivation, that is when the dating space opens up in really magical ways.
Ugh. So well said.
Thanks.
We all want the same things. I'm like, it's my friend. I lost my train of thought because I got distracted by your brilliance.
Sorry.
I was going to take it full circle.
Yeah, do it.
The most empowering thing you can do is stop blaming and look inward and go, am I being the equivalent, being the energetic space for what I want to come into my life? And in what ways can I start meeting myself there so that I can open up to the type of partnership that I want? If everyone who's in our comment section, instead of saying women are the problem, women need to do the work, men are the problem, they need to do the work, if they started looking inward and going, what part of me is available for this dynamic? What part of me feels safer in a dynamic where I don't have to confront myself and I can just blame? If you really turned inward, not to blame yourself, this is to open up to a new experience for you. The longer you perpetuate the blaming, the longer you're staying out of the experience you want. It truly pains me when I read our comments and see all the wounding in them and just go, oh, I just wish I could show you, if you could work through these things, you would see an entirely different side of how amazing men are. Mm-hmm. Oh, men are so cool. Like, what? They have so much medicine that we need as the feminine.
Oh, deeply healing.
I mean,
deeply. Like,
the respect I have. Healing. Yes. Yeah. And if men could if they could heal through their wounding, would they see the feminine as this, like, playful, colorful, muse, inspiring, fluid gift that she is? Mm. But unless you address your own wounding to clear it for you first and you only, so you can have and be open to the experience that you want with a partner, you're gonna stay stuck in the wounded paradigm. It's a self-responsibility, and I know it's hard because what's happened to you is real. No one's denying that. I mean, you've heard my personal story of narcissistic abuse in SA. Like, I get it when I say I get trauma. And it's still a choice of, well, I want a healthy, long-term, happy relationship. I'm committed to getting that for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you're saying that, I was like, that is such an important piece, is not only like, what have I been available for? Am I willing to own that part of me has been engaging in this wounded paradigm? But also, what's the vision I'm casting? That's really where I want to take this conversation, is if we're not moving the conversation in a bigger, more expansive direction, we're just going to spend a ton of time pendulum swinging and staying in these, like, echo chambers of blame. What we need to be thinking of, I think, and as part of personal responsibility, is, like, what are we aiming for? Yeah. It's the what are you fighting for, not what are you arguing pushing with. If you're not fighting for something better than what you've already experienced, to me, we've missed it. We have to be aiming for something new. And that, I think, is also what's kind of scary and requires a lot of courage, because it feels vulnerable to say, this has been what I've experienced. I honor that, and that's totally true. And I am still open to and hope for, and I'm willing to open myself to hope, which feels vulnerable, that this is what I would like to experience instead. And I'm going to do the work. as you were saying, for me.
For me.
So that I am available to move into that paradigm.
Instead of arguing for my own limitations.
Oh. Yep.
Because it's way more comfortable to do that.
Yep.
And you can heal through what you've been through that's very real and honor it. That's actually the only way to go forward. It's not about saying, I'm just going to pretend that what happened to me didn't happen. That's not the path to healing. That's just denial. You're not actually going to move forward. So it's about meeting all of that hurt and learning how to be with it and alchemize it so that you can reopen your heart and learn to experience people in a different way. See them without the filter of all of your wounding.
Oh, that's tender. Yeah.
Yeah. And then doing it for each other, right? Because there are very real things in our world that feel threatening about each other. And if we can have some, I get that, or I want to understand, right? Let me try to see how she experiences the world. Let me try to see how he experiences the pressures of the world and how she experiences the safety or lack thereof of the world. If you could try to meet each other, there'd be more compassion.
Yeah. Honestly, that's one of my favorite things to teach. And I know you teach women this, I taught women this too, of like, if women understood certain things about men, and what I'm loving is teaching men, like, if you understood these things about women, it would give you an automatic shift of seeing the other person with more compassion, at least, and seeing those parts of yourself with more compassion, because you've probably judged yourself in that way too. It's a deeper conversation. We're going to continue it, but we wanted to just start it here, and I'm going to discipline us that this is as far as we're going to take today's conversation, unless there's anything burning desire for you to share.
Not a very good disciplinarian if that's the follow-up question to that boundary. No, we're good. She's right. We need to hold back.
Right. But if you want to learn some really practical skills of both how to hear, how to receive feedback, how to offer some space once you do share something, that is, I think, a really helpful thing is, hey, how did that land for you to receive all of that information from me? That's something that I hear a lot of men wanting, is to be able to have the dialogue, not just a like one way or the other way. We want to be able to have these conversations back and forth, and that requires some specific skills, which is why we've taught multiple masterclasses.
Yes.
That's what they're there for. So we'll put those in the show notes too.
Those will give you tangible ways to start moving the needle in this direction. If you're resonating, you're like, this makes sense, I'm on board, the masterclasses are a perfect next step for you to jump into. Yes. All right. If you want more from the show, YouTube, we're on TikTok, Courtney_Shand. If you want to work with Court, it's at Building Bree Coaching for me. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, if you could give us a rating, that would be amazing. That helps us rank. We'll see you
Share it with your friends.
Yeah. See you in the next episode.
Bye.